So there's a way to retire sooner than you expected. And one of the best ways to do that is to reduce your cost of living. The problem is that many of us, we've already cut all the obvious stuff, but still feel like we're spending too much. And part of the reason for that is something that's called gradual acclimation. Life got more expensive, it got more complicated, slowly enough that most of us, we never noticed all the extra stuff that we've added along the way. So in today's video, we're going to use our Gen expertise and borrow a few ideas from 1984. And no, the 80s weren't perfect. There are plenty of things today that are better, but modern life has accumulated a lot of expenses and a lot of expectations that previous generations simply did not have. So let's edit modern life. We'll keep the good stuff and cut the unnecessary stuff, and maybe retire a little sooner because of that. Okay, my first point is that if you lived like it was 1984, well, your monthly bills, they'd fit on a Post-it note. So let's look at the monthly recurring bills for an average 1984 household. Now, we're not looking at the actual costs of those bills, not in this video. We're just looking at the number of bills. And as you can see, the 1984 family has approximately 5 to 7 recurring monthly bills. Now you look on the 2026 side, and this family, as you can see on line 1, they have all of those bills that the 1984 family had, plus all of those extra monthly bills. And of course, I can't even list them all. So the problem isn't just inflation, it's overhead. Just look at the difference. Almost everything added since 1984 is discretionary. And that doesn't mean that every modern day bill is bad. Some of those things are useful. Some are fun. Some may be worth having. But it's a big clue. And those extra line items, well, they should have to earn their place. So the 1984 challenge for this is to just print out 3 months of your bank statements, your credit card statements, and just highlight every recurring charge that you see. And then ask yourself, would this have existed in 1984? If not, could I cut it? And sometimes the answer will be, no, I don't want to. And that's fine. But maybe some of the others, you'll look at them and think, yeah, that's totally unnecessary. You also might discover 3 streaming services, duplicate subscriptions, subscriptions you completely forgot about, or a membership that you just can't justify anymore. Okay, point 2 is if you lived like it was 1984, you would expect your stuff to last. Televisions, they were repaired. So were washing machines and refrigerators. And with today's products, that's mostly gone or not even an option anymore. I'm sure television repairmen, they don't even exist. So we just replace. Out with the old, in with the new. The problem is that sometimes we've gotten so used to that we actually do it when nothing is actually wrong with the product we have. We've been conditioned to think that newer is automatically better. We used to purchase things and consider them an investment, and not like investments in the stock market. No, it meant that you bought a refrigerator and you took really good care of it. You repaired it. We even had one repainted once. at an auto body shop. You went above and beyond to keep the thing. Now it's reversed. We talk ourselves into replacing perfectly fine things all the time. So here's my 1984 challenge for you. Just adopt the 10-year rule. Before replacing anything, just ask yourself, has this thing given me at least 10 years? And I'm not trying to get you to deprive yourself. No, we're just trying to extract full value. Just decide with your next TV or phone or dryer, even your next car, that you won't replace it before 10 years is up, unless it just breaks beyond repair. I mean, that one rule alone could save you buku money. Okay, point 3 is if you lived like it was 1984, you wouldn't pay to try and eliminate every inconvenience. Now today, we treat normal life like it's riddled with inconveniences. With the way we look at things now, 1984 must have been horrible. It must have been the Dark Ages. The thing is that it wasn't. It wasn't inconvenient to go grocery shopping. It wasn't inconvenient to wait 6 weeks for something to arrive. It wasn't inconvenient to wait a full week for the next episode of your favorite TV show. That was just life. We just need to shake ourselves loose and remember, not every inconvenience requires a financial solution. So here's my 1984 challenge for you on this one, is just go 1 month. No delivery fees, none. No Instacart, no Prime or Walmart Plus. No paying extra to avoid a small inconvenience. Maybe just begin to start looking at things as not inconvenient at all. And then tally up your savings. You might be shocked. And then do a totally 80s move. Take that money that you just saved and stuff it in a big jar somewhere. Okay, my 4th point is that if you lived like it was 1984, movement was built into your life. In the 80s, movement accomplished things. It got things done. And exercise was mostly free. Today, movement feels like something that we have to schedule because we've been sitting still for hours. And a lot of exercise now comes with a monthly fee. No wonder it feels hard to stay active. As kids, we were just burning energy for the heck of it. Building forts and riding bikes and taking every single toy we own outside, knowing we'd have to just bring them all right back in at the end of the day. But then adults, they moved too. A lot. Washing the car, waxing the kitchen floor, mowing the lawn with a push mower, grocery shopping, blackberry picking. Nobody back then had to find time to exercise the way we do today. Movement happened naturally, functionally, and mostly free. And it accomplished things even better than free. Now here's my 1984 challenge to you on this one, is to just drop the monthly car wash membership or start a small garden. You would be very surprised by how much your body benefits from just doing things around the house. Now I'll tell you something, a little experiment that I did with myself using my very old Apple Watch. I usually have a morning hustle where I'm trying to get everything done with me, my pets, my mom, who I take care of, so that I can get out of the house to go to work. Same thing when I come home. I call it my morning hustle, my evening hustle. And I just started triggering a workout on my watch so that it would purposely record all of my movement, my heart rate, more intentionally than it would without triggering the workout. For the past 2 weeks, my health data has me into cardio overtraining. Even though this is how I've been living my life for years, I'm getting 2 little cardio workouts at the beginning and end of every single day. And the thing is that you probably are too. But the point of this is that we can add more. We can be purposely more active and at the same time get things done that we need to get done. And that way, exercise can just come from real life, the way it used to. Movement plus accomplishment, that's a win-win. And I'm not telling people to stop working out, stop doing things related to activity for your health. But there's a way to actually incorporate it into our everyday life in more ways than we've forgotten. My 5th point is that if you lived like it was 1984, well, dinner was not a production, but it wasn't an oversight either. Now, I know that everyone has their own family traditions and cultural upbringings, especially when it comes to food. But I Googled the most popular dinners from the 1980s, and it took me right back to my dinner table with me and my dad and my mom and my sister. Now, I've included a graphic here of everything that it pulled up. And as you can see, these are classics. Meatloaf, spaghetti. Now, do these sound familiar in your 80s house? Also, do you notice a pattern with these meals? Most were homemade. Most consisted of a meat, a starch, and a vegetable. And dinner was done. Also, they weren't diet foods. They weren't low fat or vegan or keto. Nobody was counting macros. And nobody needed 12 specialty ingredients that they had to hunt down first. Somewhere along the way, we've been totally convinced that simple homemade meals are just too much work. And it's just not true. Sometimes I think the more modern our lives became, the more complicated our food became. Now, maybe, for sure, maybe we don't have time to fix, stuffed peppers or beef pot roast every night of the week. And I totally get that. But let's just start with one night a week. And here's my 1984 challenge for you. One night every week becomes 1984 dinner night. One classic homemade meal a week to start. Nothing fancy, no special ingredients, no delivery, no meal kits, just simple food, a simple budget. And right now, spaghetti sounds really good. Point number 6 is if you lived like it was 1984, spending had a rhythm. Now, when I was a kid, my dad got paid every Wednesday. And that was the day. We all piled into the car. We went to the grocery store, got the paycheck cashed there, and we all grocery shopped for the week as a family. And the only real other shopping opportunity came on the weekends, and that's if you didn't have a whole lot of, house chores to complete. So what I'm showing here is there were constraints on opportunities to spend. There was friction. You had to go somewhere on purpose to find the things that you wanted to spend money on. Today, spending has no rhythm whatsoever. You got Amazon on Monday morning and food delivery Tuesday, Wednesday, you've got an after-work Target run, another Amazon package on Thursday, something from Facebook Marketplace on Saturday afternoon. The spending, the shopping, the ways to spend, it never stops. It just becomes continuous, like a drippy faucet. So what's my 1984 challenge to you? First, bring back payday shopping. Designate your payday or a day close to it as the day that you handle most of your spending. Buy the groceries. Place those online orders that you've been thinking about all week. Pick up the household items and then stop. And the beauty of this is less impulse spending, fewer purchases, more intentional decisions, and less financial leakage. You just simply create a rhythm. Okay, point 7 is if you lived like 1984, well, Sundays were different. And once you've got your spending back into a rhythm again, then the next step is to incorporate a quiet rest day. One day a week with no shopping, no grocery delivery, no mowing the grass, no turning that day into a big giant project. And I hesitate to call it a Sabbath day only because I don't want people to think that they have to adhere to a bunch of rules just to make it work. But there's something very beautiful about a rest day. And regardless of your religious background, in 1984, Sundays were very quiet. They were different. There weren't any leaf blowers or construction projects or Amazon deliveries or constant errands to run. Modern life has become even more stimulating and even more reason that we need a day to rest. So my 1984 challenge becomes the 1984 Sunday. Start with one Sunday a month and just work from there. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be a Sunday for it to work. And let that day consist of family or reading, cooking, walking, visiting, hobbies, rest, because we've forgotten how. Now, after I brought this up in a previous video, I had so many comments from people wishing that they could bring Sundays back the way they were in the 80s. And today, we'll have to do that on purpose. But we've got the DNA to get the job done because it's so Gen X. Okay, guys, we don't need a DeLorean. We don't need a time machine to travel back to 1984. Well, not completely. But what we can do is we can just bring the best parts of that and bring them forward. Because modern life doesn't need deleting, it needs editing. Keep the things that genuinely improve your life, but question the things that make life more expensive, more complicated, more stressful, more sedentary, harder to retire from. And maybe that's the real retirement strategy. Not always earning more, not always saving more, but by needing less. So let your 80s experience shine. Because we're Gen X and we got this. Have a great week and I'll see you in the next one.